Jaguar's XKR is a British sports car that takes on the finest and fastest of its rivals, with huge reserves of supercharged power and an awesome array of technology to get it onto the tarmac. There are two kinds of luxury sports car buyer. One wants a comfortable but very fast cruising GT. The other, a performance car that's harder edged, racy rather than relaxed. Now, if you know this market, then you'll also know that something like a Mercedes SL represents the softer edge sector, while cars of the ilk of Porsche's 911 are the choice of more committed enthusiasts. With their XK coupe and convertible models, Jaguar have always tried to satisfy both groups. The standard V8 variant there to snaffle SL sales, while this car, the supercharged XKR, is produced with Porsche and Maserati firmly in its sights. When this supercharged car first appeared in 2006, it represented a principal fine on paper, but not quite so effective in practice. With the standard normally aspirated V8 XK, there were no issues. Whether you drove the original 300 bhp model or the later 5-litre 380 bhp variant, it represented a far superior alternative to its Mercedes and BMW rivals. An XKR, though, was a bit different, less a 911 and more, well, simply an XK with a lot more power. Like an AMG Mercedes, it was great in a straight line, but you wouldn't really want one on a track day. So the Coventry engineers tried again, and in mid-2009 brought us this result. A clever set of active dynamics was said to sort the suspension, while a neat active differential was there at last to properly aid delivery of even more tyre-smoking power to the tarmac, which will come in helpful on a day like this. It all sounds quite promising. Let's try it. On paper, there's no real dynamic reason why a Jaguar XK can't be one of the tautest, most responsive performance sports cars out there. It has a very stiff modern chassis, a powerful engine, and a quick-witted 6-speed automatic gearbox with these slick wheel-mounted paddle shifters. You wouldn't have thought it to be a huge step from here to Porsche perfection, yet the XKR has never quite managed it. Until now? Let's press the gently heartbeat-throbbing starter button and find out. Now, first impressions are good as the rotary Jaguar drive gear selector rises gently into the palm of your hand and the engine fires up with a V8 5-litre supercharged growl before settling back into a loud but contented purr. Set off, and you don't have to travel too far to understand one thing very clearly. This is a very fast car indeed. Even a gradual brush of your right foot on the throttle pedal is enough to see quite a number of the available 510 braked horses make a bid for freedom. Such is the low-down torque of this engine, available in its peak form from just 2,500 RPM, at which point you're starting to fully appreciate the multi-layered V8 bellow of this unit, with its accompanying yet unobtrusive supercharging scream. Rest to 60 flashes by almost unnoticed in just 4.6 seconds. That's just a second slower than the Porsche 911 Turbo that would cost you at least £30,000 more. The more telling increment, though, is the overtaking 50 to 70 mile an hour one, demolished in under 2 seconds. The 25% improvement that this represents over the original 4.2-litre supercharged version of this car might not sound much, but on the road it's the difference between dispatching one overtaking victim or a whole queue of them. Flat out, with the nannying 155 mile an hour speed restrictor removed, this would be a 190 mile an hour car, at which point we'd be talking about Ferraris, not faster German rivals. Or at least we would if this car was capable of being as satisfying to throw around corners as it is to thrust towards the horizon. So let's do a bit of that and check out the two technical dynamic advances on this car that are making its rivals so worried. First up is adaptive dynamics, a system that's constantly monitoring steering response, braking input, wheel position, body motion and throttle control, and millisecond by millisecond adjusting the Bilstein dampers to suit. And it's far better than the old and rather crude soft or hard suspension setup that you got with the old car. And put simply, it's really a confidence thing. The car always feels like it's working with you, which is nice to have when you've the same kind of power under your right foot that Formula One drivers used to have back in the mid-70s. If you want to stay permanently in red mist mode, then pressing this checkered flag logo dynamic button not only keeps the suspension firm and the gear changes quick, but also enables the engine to sing more lustily as the exhaust silencers are bypassed. Brilliant. If you want to go a step further and select track DSC, then you really need to be on a racetrack. For here, there's enough slip to enable the back to hang out, though with a helpful safety net built in should your enthusiasm exceed your talent. If this Jaguar could only replicate its Porsche rival's pin-sharp steering, then it'd now be right on the 911's tail. In doing all of this, you'll have already appreciated this car's other great handling aid, its active differential. It's there to provide extra traction on all kinds of surfaces in all kinds of conditions, but you'll notice it most the first time you throw this XKR into a corner. That's when the system can instantly divert torque to the outside rear wheel, stopping the tail beginning to slide so the car always feels planted, further emphasizing that feeling I was talking about earlier of complete control, complete confidence in its abilities. The faster you go, the better it feels. In the metal, or should I say the aluminium, this car looks sinewy and muscular. XKR specific bits include old school bonnet louvers and a more aggressive colour keyed front bumper, incorporating aluminium mesh trim on the grille, and there's more aluminium trim around the tall air intakes that are on both sides. As you walk round the car, you glimpse red R-logoed calipers peeping out from between the spokes of the huge 20-inch supercharger branded alloy wheels. While at the back, there's more aluminium brightwork around restyled LED lamps that sit above a revised lower rear valance. Nothing too striking or unsubtle then, but this was already a very good looking piece of design, whether in coupe form or in the convertible guise that I've got here. This soft top, operable in just 18 seconds, ignores the trendy folding metal roof arrangements of some of its rivals, for a very good reason: weight. An XKR is already nearly 100 kilograms heavier than a standard XK model, and this convertible version is 247 kilograms heftier still. What it doesn't need are a load of metal panels and electric motors weighing it down still further. The fabric top facilitates prettier styling and a bigger boot. With 313 litres on offer, this convertible version isn't far behind the 330 litres you get in the coupe. Either way, you'll get 50% or more space than you would in any Mercedes SL, and that's enough to make the difference between pleasant packing in conventional suitcases for a weekend break or the uncomfortable cramming of your designer clothes into squashy bags. Inside the wonderfully snug yet spacious leather and Alcantara clad cabin, owners of earlier models will notice that the fit, finish and choice of materials is noticeably more upmarket. Once, that is, they've adjusted to the replacement of the old J-gate auto gear lever with this neat rotary Jaguar drive selector. Dark wood veneer and aluminium inserts supply the necessary sporting ambience, while as before, electrically adjustable seats and electric adjustment for the steering column mean that it's easy to find the ideal driving position. Behind you are a couple of occasional small child-orientated seats that'll doubtless be more normally used for the carriage of designer jackets or shopping bags. List pricing suggests that you'll pay somewhere in the £75,000 to £80,000 bracket for your XKR coupe, depending on the options that you choose. And that represents a £13,000 premium over the normally aspirated 385 PS 5-litre V8 XK model. If you want the convertible version that I've got here, you'll need to budget a £6,000 premium over the fixed top coupe. Overall, those prices represent the same kind of money that you'd be paying for the Porsche 911 Carrera S that manages to match this Jaguar's performance, even though it has 125 PS less. Though to be fair, if you spec'd your 911 up to this XK standard, you'd probably be looking at paying quite a bit more. As for other rivals, well, Aston Martin's V8 Vantage is no faster, even though it'll cost you another £15,000, and Maserati's GTS is actually a bit slower, even though it costs £11,000 more. As for a Mercedes SL, well, you'll need SL63 AMG power, that's 525 PS, to keep up with this Jaguar, and for that, you're looking at paying a whopping £30,000 extra. Whether you choose coupe or convertible body styles for your XKR, you'll certainly find your car very well equipped. Standard equipment includes 10-way electrically adjustable heated and cooled leather seats, a touchscreen satellite navigation system and Bluetooth connectivity. You also get a 6-CD in-dash auto changer for the high-quality premium surround sound audio system. There's a heated windscreen, dual-zone climate control and those lovely 20-inch alloy wheels. Safety-wise, as well as the expected 6 airbags and stability and traction control systems, plus a sophisticated anti-lock braking setup that can vary the pressure at each wheel, there's also active cruise control, which can help avoid nose-to-tail motorway collisions by helping to brake the car if necessary in an emergency situation. Any car with a 5-litre supercharged V8 petrol engine with over 500 brake horsepower is going to have quite an appetite for fuel. Get used to it. That said, the quoted 23 miles to the gallon combined cycle fuel figure is only a couple of miles to the gallon less than you get in the normally aspirated V8 model, which seems a fair price to pay for all that extra performance. Unfortunately, the 71-litre fuel tank is rather small and you'll empty it within 200 miles of spirited driving. Insurance is rather predictably a top-of-the-shop Group 50. Inevitably, the CO2 return at 292 grams per kilometre won't win you any Christmas cards from the green lobby. Still, it's encouraging from Jaguar's point of view that more recent JD Power customer satisfaction surveys on reliability have put it ahead of its German rivals. That could be one reason why depreciation is one area where this XKR represents a better bet than some of its predecessors. Some independent specialists have suggested that this convertible model is capable of returning over 50% of its value after 3 years, a figure that puts it comfortably ahead of a rival Mercedes SL. To be able to create something that rides like a Grand Tourer, yet grips and changes direction like a supercar, is no mean feat. Yet that's exactly what Jaguar has managed with this XKR. It still isn't quite as focused as a Porsche 911 for dedicated enthusiasts, but then if it was, it probably wouldn't be able to reward as much as it does on those occasions when you're not fighting against the clock. No other car of this kind can match this Jaguar's blend of speed, refinement and driver involvement. To call it an E-Type for the 21st century is as big a compliment as I can give. This XKR is nothing less.